I would have to say that Procreate is my number one favorite app to work with, just for the simple fact that I can be a complete couch potato while I'm working on a project. Hello, and welcome. I'm Donnie Weichel. I'm a book cover designer and author. And today I want to take you through my process of creating a book cover in Procreate. Let's get started. Let's go ahead and create an ebook size cover, which is 1600 by 2560. I have the finished cover beside it so you can see my progress at work. And I'm going to call this The Dragon's Forest. It's a dark fantasy, and I think I'm just going to go ahead and create this as a pre-made cover, so I'll have it in my shop too. The font I'm using is Cinzel. Cinzel is a popular font used for a lot of fantasy covers, and that just keeps it easy. And I'm designing this to be simple yet professional, so anyone really of any skill set can mimic this design. I've changed the Cinzel to Cinzel Decorative just to give it a little bit of flair. I'm going to capitalize a few of these letters just to give it some style. Okay, looks good. Let's squeeze these together just a little bit more. And I'm going to put some graphical elements in this, as you can see. So I'm making sure that everything's spaced out accordingly. And I am using a brush set that I created, and it's called the Fantasy Starter Set. I think I have like 170 or 180 different brushes and stamps. And I created this to just make the whole process easier. I love it. I have a ton of stuff in here. I have flourishes and skulls and flowers, different brushes, axes and swords and crowns. So you'll find just about everything you need in this brush set to create a professional looking cover. At the end of this video, I will show you all of the brushes in this set, and I'll also leave a link in the comments if you're interested. So now let's add some flourishes to just kind of decorate the cover a little bit. I'm going to flip these over so it looks like magic is coming out of that dragon. And then I'm going to duplicate that one and flip it over horizontally. And I'll use the guides to position it just right. Shift it just a little bit more. So now let's add some flourishes over to the side. Kind of attach it to that one. And the same thing, we'll duplicate and flip this horizontally. So now let's add another one off to the sides of the cover, just to kind of take up that space. I love these because they're so free-flowing and cascading. And I still want to keep the title as the focal point, so these are just a nice little touch that will draw the viewer's eye in. Okay, I gotta position this just right. Not sure what to do. Does it look good that way? When it comes to book covers, I am a bit OCD, so bear with me. Okay, I think I'm going to make this title a little bit bigger. I'm going to stretch it out. I want it to balance more on the page. Squeeze those together. Okay, I'm going to stretch it down just a little, move it down. So let's make a few adjustments just to balance things out. Okay. Duplicate that and flip it over to the other side. Nudging it a little more. I'm going to group these two flourishes and I'm going to duplicate it and set them down at the bottom and flip them vertically. So it just kind of ties in all of the design elements. Now I'm going to add a couple of snakes, and what I want to do with this cover is just sort of tell a story. As you can see, it's a book about dragons. It's a book about a forest, maybe a magical forest that's ruled by dragons. Of course, there's some challenges, which would be the snakes, for one thing. And I'm going to keep them blue, just because I want them to stand out. Kind of punctuate the design, let people know that they're sort of important to the story. And now I'm going to type in Layla Quinn. Layla Quinn is my go-to pen name. It's not my own pen name, but it's the pen name that I use for my pre-made covers. So I'm going to keep the author name in the same font, but not as bold. Again, I want to tie the design elements in with each other as much as possible. So let's make that all caps. There we go. Change the name to white. And I changed the color just to set it apart a little from the title. And let's add a few flower elements. like the way these are lining up. Okay, time to make a little adjustment to the brush. I'm going to change the spacing so it's closer together, and then when I draw them out and hold down my pen, it makes a straight line. That looks good. Make some readjustments to balance everything out. So I'll make a few readjustments here. Okay. Now let's draw a circle. In this circle I'm making a sort of emblem, if you will, of the dragon forest. So this serves as another focal point. We're kind of drawing the viewer to the tree, and then we're going to, from there, draw the viewer to the title, so they know exactly what it's about. And I'm using my symmetrical tree here, which is in my brush set. I want to sort of subdue that circle so it's not so stark. So I'm taking my grainy brush and I'm going to make it the same color as the background. I gotta change that. Yeah, I don't want it to look so patterned, so I'm going to just randomly color inside of the circle. And I set the circle layer to alpha lock so that when I color inside of it, it stays within the boundaries of that circle. Now it's time to add some leaves to the tree. And I don't want them too big. I want them to be in proportion to the tree. Try this out. A little too big. Let's try this again. Yeah, this looks good. So I'm going to cover all of the limbs with a leaf. And I like this tree because it kind of gives off this mystical, magical look. I'm liking the color scheme with this cover. I'm just going to fill out this tree and fill in all of the gaps. Okay, so now I'm going to add some random leaves falling just to give it a bit of visual interest. Okay, so now let's add some swords that will help provide another clue into the story. Okay, I'm liking how this looks. I think I want to change the word "the" over to the same font as Dragon's Forest, which is not Cinzel regular, but Cinzel decorative. I'm kind of liking the edgy feel, and I want to keep it consistent. Now let's go ahead and make a couple of highlights, and for this I'm going to use my glitter brush inside of my brush set. So I want to focus on the dragon emblem here at the top, and I'm going to select just a little bit of a darker gold because it will show up very, very light, as you can see. And what it does is it just gives this glimmer to the image. And so I'm going to do this in a couple more places. Let's do the flowers. And let's try the swords. I'm not sure about the swords though because they have some intricate detail on them. And I feel like that's going to get lost in the glimmer. So let's do the flowers at the top. So it looks like the dragon is actually shooting out glimmer flowers. Yeah, I like it. There we go. And speaking of depth, there's another component that I would like to add to the background. And for this, I am using a brush from Giovanni. It's called Wallpapers by Giovanni, and this particular one is just a whole bunch of leaves. It's a leaf pattern that I feel just works really good with this cover. So I'm going to bring down the opacity without it being overpowering. There's one more finishing touch that I want to apply to the background, and that is placing a black vignette around the border to bring some depth, and it brings a bit of a vintage quality to the overall design. So here I'm just using a medium airbrush to just brush in black around the border of the cover, just very softly. And I'm going to blend this in by changing it over to a multiply filter and reducing the opacity just a little. And then I will take the original background and darken it, just so it has a more dramatic look. Now I'm going to give some depth to the title just by creating a gradation effect. I'll use the same medium blend airbrush, and I'm just going to gently sweep over the middle part of the title, just until it's blended in nicely. Let's add just a few more random happy leaves, and then I want to subdue them just a tad so they're not so bright. And there it is. We are all done creating our fantasy cover in Procreate. Hey, thanks for watching. I will go ahead and leave my Procreate brush link and some other links in the comments below. And if you liked what you saw, please don't forget to subscribe. Thanks again. I will see you in the next video.